Look, it's been another big day in Canberra as the dust settles from Jim Chalmers' big budget Tuesday night, and as we wait for opposition leader Peter Dutton to offer up his reply speech in just over an hour's time. I want to go through some of the latest developments in the reaction to the budget, and particularly the weird claims by the Treasurer that this budget, which looks in many respects like a stimulus budget, pumping money all over the economy, will somehow not add fuel to the inflationary fire. I'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get to that, I have to say that as someone who has covered a number of budgets, this is one of the strangest ones I've ever seen. More than that, I think the Albanese government has taken the usual strategy of leaking details contained within the budget to such an extreme that it has done itself a huge disservice. Look, the budget lockup is one of the weirdest rituals in Australian public life. Viewers may correct me on this, but I don't know of any other country in the world that sequesters its press behind locked doors to pick over the Treasurer's budget speech in the way we do here in Australia. Now, the idea, of course, is simple. It's to allow us to report to you what is in the budget with the benefit of a sneak preview. But the problem is, everyone now gets a sneak preview in the days and weeks before budget night. Governments of both stripes do this, of course, but I don't think I have ever seen a budget where virtually every single major item, and a lot of minor ones too, were so comprehensively leaked, or to use Beltway jargon, dropped. It's a tempting thing for treasurers to do this, of course, because while you're doing it, you get to run around playing Santa Claus as your big night of night approaches. But here's the problem. Come budget night, possession of the ball turns over. If you're the government, you've got nothing left to throw around, and you're playing defense against both the opposition and the press, which has nothing left to do but poke holes in your carefully constructed strategy. And poking holes is exactly what they are doing to Jim Chalmers' budget, particularly as the government has left a hole in their fiscal reasoning big enough to fly a 747 through. Here's the Prime Minister.
We've been responsible, making sure that at the same time as we're taking pressure off families, we're not adding to pressure on inflation.
And here's the Treasurer earlier today.
When it comes to inflation, the Treasury has been incredibly clear that elements of our cost of living plan will actually take some of the edge off the inflation forecast next year, particularly our energy relief plan. So our budget has been carefully calibrated to address these cost of living pressures in our economy without adding to inflation, and I'm very confident that that is what they will do.
And naturally, other Labor ministers are singing from the same song sheet.
Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, I think has done an amazing job in ensuring that the budget does not add any inflationary pressure to the economy. All the advice that we have had and all the modelling that we have done has said that this does not add inflationary pressure.
As an economist, you know more about this than many of us. Is it technically inflationary?
No, we've gotten the balance right. We've targeted the spending.
Well, clearly the talking points have gone out. But here's the problem. There's more than $20 billion in new spending being pumped out into the economy in the form of direct payments and through other plans to, as the government euphemistically says, put more money in people's pockets. Which, of course, is just another way of saying, again, pumping more money into the economy. Which, of course, means that, by the basic law of physics, it is inflationary. These laws do not cease to exist or apply just because you think your heart is in the right place. Experts now believe that there will be 2 more rate rises after this budget, and the government this time will not be able to blame them on Josh Frydenberg and Scott Morrison. As Simon Benson reports in The Australian, quote, economists are lining up to say the same thing. Jim Chalmers' budget is big in spending, expansionary by nature, and very possibly inflationary, unquote. It's not just economists that are having trouble digesting the budget either. The fact is, this is a budget that is targeted at both the top and bottom ends of the economy. With subsidies for those doing it tough, yes, absolutely, but also big money, such as $2 billion for hydrogen technology that barely exists yet, that will support big renewables investors like Twiggy Forrest. And ordinary Australians, the ones in the middle, they've noticed. A new Compass poll taken for the Menzies Research Centre found the following, and I think this is pretty intriguing. It found that 39% of voters said there was nothing in this budget for them or their families. While energy subsidies were popular with 25% support, followed by GP bulk billing changes and rent assistance, the overall verdict was very mixed. 28% said the budget was good for Australia, 16% bad, and fully 56% said it was neither here nor there. And that's after that several-week-long sales effort I just mentioned. And we'll see in coming weeks whether, now that the economy is fully the Albanese government's responsibility, those indifferent polls begin to be reflected in Anthony Albanese's and the government's own popularity ratings. It's now over to the opposition, and as I said, Peter Dutton will be giving the budget reply speech soon. To put it another way, game on.